Well, it's 3:30 in the morning and I can't sleep because I'm thinking about how I'm going to get my blog started. I'm a little chatterbox and I always want to tell people about what we do in our travels. And people have said, well, why don't you blog? And it's like, I don't know what that is, but here goes. Let's give it a try. So, the one thing that we do when we travel is we carry two cell phones each. Our expensive one, when it depends on the year, I think way back in 2017 or 18 or whatever, I had an iPhone 10, and there's no way in hell that I wanted somebody to steal my iPhone 10, so I would carry another one, and Floyd would do the same thing. He would carry the one he just was using all the time, and then he would carry another one, and we would leave our good phones in our suitcases in our room, and we would walk around with an old cell phone that if somebody stole from us, we didn't care. If we lost it, we didn't care. So we would buy a phone chip from the country that we arrived at. And each country that we arrived at, we would just get a new chip. Meanwhile, our good phones were sitting in our suitcase, locked. Um, we always lock our suitcases when we get to the room. We throw all our electronics in the suitcases and in the backpacks. We divide it by the four because we each have a backpack and we each have a roll bag. So we just divide up our money and our passports and our electronics between all. And so if a maid comes in and wants to steal something, they got to figure out which out of the four bags, all four bags are locked, which out of the four bags would be lucrative to steal. And so we have had no problem. People have the hotel rooms. Nobody from the hotel have ever taken anything from our suitcases or walked away with our suitcases. So that was the safest place for us to put our electronics and our money and our passports. So we would leave the room. We would take our extra old phone and we would go find a place to buy a chip, a SIM card from the country that we arrived at. And we would insert that SIM card in there. I would have a phone, and Floyd would have a phone with SIM cards. We'd have two different SIM cards, and we would set up our WhatsApp on each one. And so when we walked around and we needed to get a hold of each other, and we would just make a phone call on the SIM card from the country we were at. So meanwhile, I came across a fella in can't remember whether it was Brazil or Peru, can't remember. He was from Southeast Asia, and he also had a passport from Dubai, and he traveled a lot. And so I asked him, what what does he what does he use for a SIM card? Or and he actually said, um, you get a SIM card from every country. He says, what I do is I get a SIM card from um, the United Kingdom with a provider called Three. So he would just put in $20 or whatever, and he'd get maybe 5 or 10 or 15 gigs. And then he would just travel around with that. And he didn't have to do a monthly, um, he didn't have to get a monthly plan. So I bought a chip from him. I actually bought two chips from him, and because he had already purchased the SIM and he had already set it up in the UK. So all I had to do was just throw it into the phone, and I just had to top it up and add money every 6 months. So I had to let it go because I wasn't really using it very much. And so I lost those 2 phone numbers, which was fine. And then on this trip, I regretted not adding money to this number from the United Kingdom. And I wanted another one. So I went on eBay and I found one on eBay. So the fellow from eBay, it was like $4 for the chip, and it was like probably like $7 or $8 to ship it. It was more for shipping than it was for the chip. So then I ordered this chip from the telephone company called 3 from a fella on eBay, and we'll be using it on my next trip. And I wanted something that wasn't an eSIM. I wanted a physical SIM card so that I could take the card on one iPhone. I could take it on one iPhone or move it to another iPhone. Because I'm always traveling with 2 iPhones. Or we're 2 phones. Nowadays it's 2 iPhones. Back then it was an iPhone and something else. And it depends on the country. Now, if I'm in a country where it's safe to walk around with my iPhone, nowadays I've got an iPhone 14, and I got an iPhone 10 that's all cracked up and pretty bad shape. But it's nice and slim and nice and light, and I kind of like it. But I'm not going to walk around with my iPhone 14 unless I feel safe, depending on the country. And I think I'm going to Japan. Japan's going to be my first stop on this tour in 2023. And my understanding is that it'll be very safe for me to walk around with an iPhone 14. But when we were in Rio de Janeiro, way back in 2019, something like that, you couldn't walk around with a phone. You could not walk around with a phone, because if they're on a bicycle, they'll grab it right out of your hands. We were in a police station because we had trouble with a credit card situation, and this girl from California said she was sitting in the cab and her parents were in the back seat. She was in the front seat, in the passenger side, and she had her iPhone, can't remember. I think it was an iPad. And she was going through her iPad, and the window was open, and there was a fella that came by with a bicycle and put his hand in and grabbed her iPad and took off. So a lot depends on the country. So on this trip, I am going to, so that's why I want 2 chips. I want 2 phone chips, because it depends on which country I'm going to be going to. And I think this SIM card it's called 3.co.uk. And you can't use, if you want to add money, you can't use, I'm from Canada, so I can't use my Canadian credit card because it's a UK SIM card. So I have to go into I have to go and add money. I could go to several sites. My favorite is I go into DING.com, and I put in $20, $10, $30, and then I can get it put over to the 3 phone number the chip that I have from the company called 3. Now, another few other places that a person can get to recharge and buy a top-up is called mobiletop.co.uk and ding.com, and my favorite. That's the only one I use. Another one's called recharge.com. Another one is called cysend.com, which would be cysend.com. Another one is bitrefill.com. bitrefill.com, bitrefill.com. So there's a few places that can top that up. So I top up the SIM card, and I have to add money every 180 days. So what I'll also be doing is I'll be using that card, or that UK SIM card with the phone number. I want to use it when I arrive at an airport, or when I arrive somewhere and I haven't bought a SIM card from the country. So what I will do is I will also stop and pick up a SIM card from that particular country, because then I can get unlimited and good data, and I can get into Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. They have some excellent plans when you go to. When Floyd and I traveled South America, every country we went to, we went to Peru and Bolivia and Paraguay, Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, and Chile. So we got a SIM card for each location. And some of those were really cheap, and some of them were really fabulous. We could be sitting in the bus, looking at Facebook or posting on Facebook. So I would like to be doing that on my next trip. Is not only am I going to use 3, I'll use that for when I arrive, and I want to look at the train schedule, and I want to look at the map. And then I will make my way to the hotel, and then I will maybe go to a 7-Eleven or a store, or to a cell phone company, and buy a chip from that particular country. And that's the route we'll go. So press the subscribe button. I guess they're telling me that that's the thing that has to happen, is if you like this video, press the subscribe button.